Glad to be here today. I'm Tim Clements, farm in Greenville in Mississippi, and farm mainly soybeans and corn, and hadn't farmed rice in a few years and hadn't farmed cotton since 2001. But I am here to talk about irrigation in the past, and pipe planter is a big thing, but I started irrigating when I was about 14, carrying a shovel, cutting rice levees, and cooking soybeans, turning them green, and making them smell like rotten fruit. So I have long experience messing up irrigation. So the three things I'm going to talk about mainly are pipe planter, surge valves, and moisture sensors like Wilkes covered. And there are NRCS programs that cover that. We got in the equip cost share on those, and don't want to do anything without them anymore. It takes a little getting used to, a little planning. The pipe planter is the easiest. It's free. It is not easy because it takes time to set it up. You got to go to each field on your farm, and I got in my examples here that oblong shaped field. You go to each field and you input your data, and it's not as difficult now as it used to be. We started it when it was faucet about 5 years ago. Now it's gone to pipe planter, so you can use your planimeter on your phone to measure your fields. You can use Google Earth to measure. You measure the length of your pad, the length of the rows, and the water you got to also get a surge valve, not a surge valve, a volumetric meter on your well to see what your output is, and then the height of your pad. That's the trickiest thing, is the elevation of your pad. The yellow line there is where the pipe lays, and you've got to know that elevation. But you can get that with a GPS rig. You follow that, it works well. It is not, as I said, none of these three things are easy, but they will make your irrigation much more effective. And on that field, the way we used to do it, we'd start on those long rows on the far end, on that south end, and then we'd just, somewhere along the line, poke smaller holes. Seems like it would work out, but it never did. This way it works out. It does actually come to the end at the same time. Square fields are real easy. That one, the wells in that side, and then we go one side then the other. And we actually have a surge valve on that field, so it waters one side, then it flops to the other. And then these large fields on the crack and clay, like Wilkes was talking about, the surge valve, these were taking so long to get to the end. And now the difference and I'll talk about that some on the surge valve, is we don't pulse on the crack and clays, on the sharky clays. We're mainly sharky clay. We do have some sandy dirt where we run the pulses to get the deep infiltration, but on the crack and clay, we really don't do that. We don't go to the soak mode. We stay in the advanced cycle and go back and forth, and it'll get there quicker. But once again, you can tailor your pipe planter. Since it's web-based, it's on your phone. You can, and it's going to tell you the length of time it takes to come to the end. If it's too long, shrink the field down a little bit. Divide it one more time. Instead of divide it into two, divide it into three. Use a surge valve and an H or something like that. None of that. Again, the first time you do it, it's a little tricky, but after you do it once or twice, it's not. You can subdivide the field any way you want to come to the end in a timely manner, which will keep them from turning bright green and smelling like rotten fruit. That's the other side of that same field, and the same. You see that one's neat because it's same hole size the whole way. The computer hole selection let us keep the same hole size the entire way of that field, the entire length of that field. Surge valves are a winner. They're expensive. They're about $2,800, but like I said, NRCS has the cost share program, and they'll keep you from having to be out there at 10:30, 11:30, 2:30 in the morning cutting that well off, because they'll flop it to the other side, and there are 2,000 different configurations you can use. The straight, both of those are straight, and that's with and I do recommend that type and I don't even know the name of it, but the digital readout. Don't get the one with it's a less expensive model that has the analog, has a little clicker on it, but the digital readout is much better if you're going to go the surge valve route. It allows you to change the way the surge valve operates. And when Dr. Kroops was peddling these, he was talking about the prescription you put in. When you hear him talk about that, that's what it is. You just calculate your field. It is not higher math, because I can do it myself. You figure out how big one side is, how big the other side is, and how long it will take you to the end, and Pipe Planner tells you all that. Then you input it. If one side's 60%, the other's 40%, there's a push button and you put 60%, 40%. Not really and truly not rocket science. The best thing is these soil moisture sensors like Wilkes was talking about. And if you don't have one, I recommend you get one and try it for a year because you won't trust it. Are you running any in Louisiana yet? Arkansas, and one thing I should have said up front, I know tap farms in Louisiana, Arkansas, I know they don't have to have permits. We have to have a permit in Mississippi to drill a well. Have to get the permit now before we drill the well. And the permit has a 18 acre inch per year restriction on it. Now they're not enforcing that as yet, but there's a big push in Mississippi, and we've got a couple big committees working on it to save that aquifer, to keep it, to get it where it's sustainable. And soil moisture sensors being one of the ways, Pipe Planner being another way. We don't waste water. We don't waste the tailwater like we used to. And the surge valve where we get across a little quicker. All of that in Mississippi is really, we're pushing that a lot. And I'm the chairman for 2 more weeks of the Mississippi Soybean Promotion Board. So we're really making a push for that. All the groups in the Delta are working on that. If we have to go back to dryland farming in the Mississippi Delta, I'll be looking for a job from some of y'all somewhere. But the soil moisture sensors are the neatest thing that we have. And when you get one, you've got to get one for a year because you're not going to trust it. Because like Wilkes was saying, when you go out in the field and your neighbors start watering, and you want to be watering because everybody's watering, and you know it's time to water, and it tells you don't water. But you got to try it. You got to have it for a year to do it. And those are the sensors. Those are the actual sensors. Those are watermark sensors in the field. And you put them in. You take them to different depths. You just color code them. Pick a color for your 6, 12, and 24 inch depth. And you, as soon as you get planted and get your first spraying over or whatever, just really quickly go ahead and get the probes in the ground where the roots will go around them, because that's what you're reading. You're reading the root zone as it moves deeper into the soil profile and how it's drinking that water. And you put them, and then you can take. There's several different models you can use. They go from about $400 to you can spend as much as you want on them. The $400 model is I may have a picture of it somewhere. I'll get to that. But you push the button and it gives you the readout on all 3. Write it down and track it as time goes on. And like Will said, it goes from 0 when it's saturated wet and up to, I don't know how high it'll go. We quit looking at them after we get through watering. But the 85 is a good number. We usually start about 75 on wells that have more than one field involved, so we can get to the next field in time. These readouts are from a Precision King. We have a couple of them that are web-based, so they send it to your phone or your computer. They email it to you, and you can track it. You can track it out. It saves you having to go out and push the button and write down the values every day. But the neat thing is the color coding on there, on the bottom graph, you can watch it as the year goes on. You know, the root zone at 6 inches dries out quickly. Then as the beans or corn grow, they get in the 12 inch, and then you figure out when they get to the 24 inch because it starts drawing water. Early in the year, it's not drawing any water out of that 24 inch zone, so you're watching the plant development go. And when that one's a little tricky there. We got some showers evidently while we were watering that, but you can see where the lines drop straight down. That was either a big rain or an irrigation. But it has saved us 1.5 irrigations a year compared to neighbors. We have neighbors on both sides that don't use them, and again, it is a very effective, but it's not easy because you're not saying we're going to start Monday. You don't do the we're going to start everything Monday. Everybody take off for the weekend because Monday we're going to start, because then that defeats the purpose of the sensor. If you're going to follow the sensor and water when you need to water, you don't need to water Monday, you need to water Thursday. So instead of starting everything up, now we're basically watering all through irrigation season. We've got something going. We have very few times now where we just got through, we got everything off for 4 or 5 days before we have to start again. But it is amazing the difference that will make when you begin an irrigation. And it also, at the end of the season, when you're out there cutting pods and seeing if you got black layer on the corn, if you still got moisture in the 12, the 6 is going to be dried out. The 6 is going to be cracked out. But on the 12 and 24, if you still got moisture, it'll save you watering at the end of the year too. It's a learning process. The pipe planter is a quicker process to get started, although you've got to sit there at your computer and input the data on each field. Very, very, very effective tools. They've been really good for us in Mississippi, and we're really trying to get more people to use them, trying to get everybody to use them. So we've got.
How many per field are you putting out?
Sorry?
How many per field? Just one?
One. And really you don't need one per field. If you've got a block, you put one, and even bigger than that, but if say one well has 4 fields, you put one in one of those fields and generally water it last. So you'll know.
What area of the field are you picking?
You go about 2/3 of the way. I should have mentioned that. You go 2/3 of the way down the field to put the sensors. And you just run phone line, three or 4 wire phone line out to your sending unit, whether it's the one that has the cell tower compatible or the one with the push button. You can run it out, and like I say, you do that after you go ahead and put the sensors out, and then we'll spray, and then we'll run a middle buster to open the water middles back up. So then after we get that done, laid by, won't have any more trips through the field with a tractor. Then we run the line out to the sensor reader, and then, beans aren't that tall at that point. But you don't need one. We have, on our place, we've got about 22 surge valves, and we've got 8 sensors. On a sandy farm close to the river, we've got one, and then we won't have to put another one over there. And then around our home place is all buckshot, all sharky clay. We'll just go here and there with them. It's real similar soil type, and we know how long it takes us to get around. So if you put one in one field, leave it to the last. By the time you get back around, like he was talking about, you pick a number, and if it's 75, by the time you start the other fields, it'll be 85, and if it's 100, then next time you'll start a little bit earlier. But the sensor is the ticket. It's the way to go. Highly recommend everybody gets one of those, and then you'll get more. But like I say, about $400 will get you the one you go push the button on, and then the sensors, the probes will last 2 or 3 years, and they're not difficult either. You take a soil probe, push it in, and make a little slurry. Take your bottle of water and get a little mud and swirl it around in there, and then and mash it around. It seals off good. It's not technically that difficult. And as I said, with our aquifer the way it is, and with Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality able to regulate us as they are, and I'm sure Louisiana and Arkansas are the same thing. They're just not at that. Their aquifers are holding up better, I suppose. We've gone and we're spending a lot of the money, a lot of the Mississippi Soybean Promotion Board money on water conservation, because most of our beans are grown in the Mississippi Delta. So we're able to dedicate a lot of money to that. So all of our programs come under SIP, and Jason Cruz, who was harassing Wilkes, is our state irrigation specialist. So they are all very familiar, and we have our Delta area soybean specialist in the back there now. So all of these people work with this, and all of these people, I will get you their numbers, Wilkes included, and they will be happy to talk to anybody about this. It is their life's work at the moment. And my plug for the Mississippi soybeans, and a neat thing on the pipe planter, if anybody wants to look at that, you go to our website, mssoy.org, and Mississippi Soybean Promotion Board and Arkansas Soybean Promotion Board, in conjunction last year, made a video. It's a 2-hour tutorial broken into chapters on using pipe planter. Very handy. You don't have to watch the whole 2 hours. You can pick and choose the parts you already know. You can skip over them. Very handy to use. But mssoy.org has got all of our irrigation resources on there. The riser program, which falls under SIP, all of the irrigation is on there. So that is, I don't understand why in Louisiana and Arkansas they're not. I don't understand why we're put upon and regulated when they are not. But at the moment we are. So that is what I have. So be happy to answer any questions that I'm able to.
measured the difference since you started this on, from year to year, how much, from one year to the next, how much water reduction?
You know, we haven't, because we've been doing, we started faucet on our whole acreage 4 years ago, and we've gone to the pipe liner, and then we started the surge valves. We got one or two, and now we've ramped that up. Same with the sensors. But our last 3 years, we've had a little more rainfall than we had the 3 years prior to that. I can't quantify how much per year we've saved, but as compared to our neighbors, who we farm just like our neighbors, we're in irrigation and a half a year less, and our yield hasn't suffered a bit, hasn't suffered at all. But it's tricky not watering when everybody around you's watering, and you think you ought to be watering. That's the hard part. That's the tricky part.
Be strong. Don't succumb to the peer pressure.
You really can't.
Don't succumb to the peer pressure.
And
Sooner or later, they'll start following you.
maybe. We hope so.
Well,
We're pushing
show
that.
You're not losing anything. It'll reverse eventually.
And the Delta Sustainable Water Task Force is pushing this hard, trying to get the adoption up higher than it is. We've got a survey out right now trying to find out how high adoption's gone. Hopefully it's at 30 or 40% of acreage, but it's amazing that it's not higher because it works. So and the cost is not bad with the EQIP cost share 80%. And the life, and these are the moisture sensors, the sending unit will last forever. The probes you'll have to, and that's $100 to get 3 new probes. It's a money-making deal, a money-saving deal. We're all in, and it works, and it has helped our yield, not hurt our yield. I argue with Croups and all of these, especially Dr. Orlowski. We're on 30s, and we don't want to trade equipment and go to wide beds again. So we have those arguments, but there's no argument that these things work and save you money and save water.
Utilizing cover crop with this as of now, or?
Started this year with a little cover crop. I don't know. I don't know enough to know anything yet. I don't know if it's going to be beneficial to us.
You know, we have a trial station that's been in place for about 10 years now, where we're looking at different cover crops and its effect on irrigation and everything of that nature, but it's still something we've got to apply to.
One thing we talked to say it helps with your moisture retention, obviously.
But does it do it in July, June and July? That's what my question's been on how long will it last?
Sure.
But we can ask this man next year, because he planted a variety of cover crops this year. So he will have all those answers.
What growth stage do you first start irrigating?
You know, that we're not scared now to go a little earlier if we have to, but everything shows R1, you don't need to before R1. I mean, everything. I think that's been, I think Kreutz has been banging that drum now for long enough that we believe him that there's no need prior to R1. It'll catch up, even if the clay's cracked out, R1, and not even R1, late into R1. Give it a little more time.
Still maybe. I have to admit I'm learning a lot, because I grow soybeans in Iowa and we're blissfully ignorant. We don't have any sort of irrigation issues because we don't irrigate. But the one thing I will say is that it makes sense to me to wait basically to irrigate, because the fact that our kind of conventional wisdom is we want Mother Nature to give us a nice rain to get it up, and then we don't really want anything in between because we want the roots to go down. And I think that's kind of what this irrigation thing is telling us.
And that was one of the early thoughts on the water task force. How do we save one? If you save one irrigation, save 3 acre inches.
Yeah.
Save that either the early one or the late one. Save the early one. If you don't have, and I don't know how to back this thing up. If you don't have the sensor to show you where you are on the back end, and we all get jumpy on the back end. We don't want to short it. We're looking at what's there, and we don't want to short it then. But on that front end, let it go. Let that root go down and give it some more time.
And maybe the sensors will, after you learn to trust them, is the way to keep you from doing it. Because I understand, especially down here where you see it gets a little hot and the corn kind of rolls up or the soybeans are flipping over, you're like, oh, I gotta get out there. But a lot of that I think is just heat. It's not so much that they're needing the water. So there's a lot more talent to doing it down here, I think.
The sensor the sensor answers that once you trust it.
Now, I can hit on that. Another aspect I didn't get to cover today, I'm looking at different thresholds within growth stages. And kind of somewhat of a common practice, a lot of consultants, and you might be able to speak to this as well, is they'll send out an early irrigation, R1, R2, even if it's not necessary, with the thought that it can make a quicker canopy, get some weed suppression, and potentially even increase final plant height, which could in turn lead to more nodes, thus meaning more yield. And been able to do it 2 years, and then following our sensors, we've been able to surpass that number to where we did have an early irrigation, but we saw no benefit when compared to just waiting and holding on. So that's kind of somewhat of a thought process in some of our producers, consultants' minds for that early season.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the thing, you want to get that water out there, and it always makes, you think it makes sense to put more water on it, but I think it doesn't always. It's kind of counterintuitive.
Because another thing, probably, I don't know anything about it, but I would think with the sensor, I mentioned irrigation, overhead pivot irrigation. But if you get behind with the pivot, you can't catch up like you can with furrow irrigation.
But your sensor now, it's a good reason to play with that sensor the first year. You'll get a little better understanding of how fast it moves. See go back one more page. Right, you see the way it's kind of stair-stepping there? You see how fast it's using the water?
Yeah.
And that's night and day when it doesn't use the water at night. And I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about. I've been that's the way it's explained to me. I don't understand the mechanics of that, but that's what that is. And after you've used them a little while, you're watching it run, and you pick a number. The green line is just a that's where we say we don't want to go above that green line on that particular field where we work. And you can if it's too soon, you move your green line next year. It's an arbitrary number. That 75, 85, the 85 like Will was talking about, you can change that number. You can drop it on your pivot. You can drop it to whatever, drop it as low as you want to go, where you start a little bit earlier, and then you know. But you can tailor it to your operation. You can tailor it to the way you walk, to the way you think, and then that'll make it work. Because that's what the trick is, figuring out how to make it work on your place. But you will not trust it the first year.
It definitely also varies by your soil type, plus like Mr. I'm saying, the location, the time it takes to reach it. So a lot of
If
factors.
you get in rolling hill ground, soil types change really rapidly. Sometimes it's not something you can deal with.
Yeah, fine tune.
Yeah.
And that's something we're hoping to be able to, in the next few years, start playing with some overhead irrigation and make some recommendations on that. The University of Georgia has some now, but what is the soil types?
Nobody in the hill somewhere tries it.
So these probes are sending the recordings back to
To the base.
yeah. Do they make wireless ones like these now? Or?
The wireless one, but I don't know if they make a wireless sending unit from the probe to the receiver. I don't know that. They will, I'm sure.
This year, Syntec updated some of their wiring, but I don't know if you can just get the sending unit to be able to
And you're
tap
not,
it and use it.
you go out in the field, you're not going a mile out. You can go out there 40, you probably want to get one round off the field if you're running 12-row equipment or so you out there, you're running 50 feet of wire over to your turn rack. And the others, the one, that's the one you're going to have to push the button. The ones that are sending it to your email, you leave it in the field close to it. Don't. If you do it in corn and have a sending unit out in the field, don't cut the corn down around the sending unit so it operates solar. And if you do that, move the sending unit away from the probes. We had one last year. We put the probes in and put the T-post in and put the sending unit on it, and the sun was getting blocked, so went out and knocked that corn down. And when that corn gets knocked down, the roots aren't taking up that water anymore. So we had to go move it. That wasn't ideal. So don't do that. Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank you all.